Hello. Welcome to my channel. I am super excited. I have a huge announcement. Huge. I have been keeping this secret for months now. And so I don't know how I managed to do it, but here it is. You are the first to find out that I have designed my very first die for Not Too Shabby, and I am so ecstatic. I'm so grateful to Jamie for giving me the opportunity to take my mini one sheet wonder printables that I design and make available to you all for free and actually kind of upgrade it into what I'm calling an easy wonder die. I have a little bit of wishful thinking. I named it number one in the hopes that it does well and that we can do more of these. That's going to be totally up to you all, though. So let me know if that's something that you're interested in. And one of the things that really, there are several things that I see this die as being an upgrade to my mini one sheet wonders. If you're not familiar, what my mini one sheet wonders is all about is it's a free printable that you can download, and it shows you how to cut a single sheet of 6x6 pattern paper and create 3 to 4 cards using all of those cuts so that you have little to no waste. That's the concept of my mini one sheet wonder. So when you're down to just your last 1 or 2 sheets of pattern paper, it gives you all of the cutting guides and the card sketches to design some cards from that and use up everything so that you don't have any scraps. Well, this is an upgrade to that concept because this single die with one pass through your die cutting machine will allow you to cut all of those elements right away. So this particular design cuts out 9 different elements, and it's never been faster and or easier to get all of those elements cut. So rather than hand cutting, that you can just run this die through the one time and you're going to get all of the pieces that you need. We've designed this so that it will go through your 6-inch die cutting machines because it's not actually fully 6x6. It's just shy of 6x6. And the reason for that is twofold. One, so that it can pass through a 6-inch die cutting machine with ease. 2, so that when you go to line this up on your pattern paper, it's going to be easy for you to line up because we've given you just like a little bit of extra space all the way around. If this die were exactly 6 inches by 6 inches, if you were off just by a little bit, then some of your die cut elements might be clipped. And we wanted to make it easy to use so that you can avoid that. It does mean that when you die cut this out, you're going to have just that the little border as waste, but really that's hardly anything, right? So that's one of the fabulous upgrades to having just a printable cutting guide that you can follow along with. This means no measuring and perfect cuts every time. The other thing that I see as a huge benefit of designing this as a die is that, check it out, I was able to add some stitch border detailing to each and every element that this die cuts out. So that's something that even though there are hand tools that you can use to create that stitching effect, well, for me, that would be really hard to achieve and if I were to do it by hand, but the die does it so beautifully, so evenly, and everything is going to have that really lovely professional die cut edge. It's going to have that amazing detail of the stitching all the way around the border. And so that's another huge benefit to being able to create the die form of my mini one sheet wonder. And so what's fabulous is that I did mention that my printables also include card sketches. So what we've done is we didn't want to shortchange anybody on that aspect either. So on the back of your packaging, so be sure to keep your packaging, you'll see 4 in this case, 4 different card sketch suggestions. I like to call them suggestions because, as you see here, there are no measurements. I never put any measurements on my card sketches because I want you to do what you want with these card sketches and really make them your own. Put your own personal stamp on them. So personally, for me, I like to have really thin borders, and that means that sometimes I'm cutting things at 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch increment, and I know not everybody is a fan of that. So I don't want to be prescriptive about every single element on these sketches. Where you see white and gray, that's where you can really have the freedom to introduce anything that you'd like. More mats and layers, more pattern papers, embossed panels, inky backgrounds, anything you wish. Where you see the Not Too Shabby Shop brand colors, those are the elements that actually your die will cut out. So you don't need measurements there because the die is going to do all of the work for you, and straight away you're going to have all of those elements. So each of the 9 die cut elements that this die will cut out will be represented in one of these sketches. So after you've made all 4 of these sketches, you will have used up everything that this die cuts out. So that gives you no scraps, and that way you can really use up the beautiful, gorgeous pattern papers that Teresa designs for Not Too Shabby. I really feel like the Easy Wonder die is a perfect marriage with Not Too Shabby because Jamie and Teresa put out such beautiful pattern papers. You get so many of them on a monthly basis, and they all have coordinating ephemera packs with them, which makes for even quicker and easier card making. And now with this die, you're going to be able to put together some really fabulous sketches all the faster. So in the description box below, what I will leave for you is a link to sign up for an email alert. This die, as I mentioned, you're the first to hear about it, and so it's not even available on the Not Too Shabby shop yet. This will go up for pre-order on the 24th of the month, and so you can sign up to buy the die by itself. It does come included again with the sketches so that you have something to already start creating with. And as well, there's going to be some options. So you can add to the purchase of the die 1 or 2 classes. These are exclusive classes that I have recorded and created for you. One class is what I'm calling the introduction class, and that will show you how to use the die as I've designed it to create these 4 sketches. The second class is what I'm calling the advanced class, and in that class I'll show you how to use this die in different ways outside of how it's been designed, because I see this die as a great stash building die. So if you are new to paper crafting and you don't have a lot of dies in your stash yet, this is a fabulous one because it gives you so many different shapes. It gives you so many different components that you can mix and match and use however you'd like, beyond just these 4 sketches. These are just to give you an idea for how to use this, but if you look at the die, it's all basic shapes. So these are what I consider building blocks to create with, and that's one of the reasons why I love having this as a die, because you have all of these different elements. You've got banners of different lengths. These 3 are the same size and that one's longer. You've got a couple different rectangles of different sizes. You've got a couple of squares of different sizes, and you even have a circle. So there's a lot of components there that you can craft with. And let me show you very quickly what I cover in my 2 classes, just so that you can decide for yourself whether that's something that you want to add when you purchase this. So in my introduction class, I'm going to show you how to make the 4 sketches. the way that I like to approach using this die, and it's totally up to you, you can just die cut out of one sheet of pattern paper and then use the same pattern for each of the elements that you see here. Or if you're like me and you like to showcase as many pattern papers as you can on a card, you can die cut it twice. So here I've die cut it out of that faux pink glitter as well as the light teal and pink ribbon papers, and that allows me to create 2 of each of these sketches, and I can alternate between the 2. That way I can have a little bit of contrast between the 2 pattern paper elements. And of course, as I mentioned, with the white space, you can always use that, fill that however you'd like. So in this case, I've just used some solid color cardstock. In this case, I've used an embossed panel. And of course, the focal image you can build up however you'd like with the ephemera that coordinates with the papers, maybe just with some simple stamping. Choices up to you. In the second card, I show you how you could do a little bit of batch making with this and create the same or similar cards. Here again, what I've done is, because I've die cut out of 2 different pattern papers, I've kind of mix and match the ribbon just to give it a little bit more interest down here. But certainly if you wanted all of the ribbons to be the same pattern paper, you could definitely do that. And that's why I like to die cut it multiple times, and that way I have some different options. I can use them all the same or mix and match between the 2. The third card features this square, which I've turned to use as a diamond. And here you can see that for this card, this is actually a colored pre-made card base. And so it kind of resembles this sketch at its most basic in the sense that there aren't any additional mats and layers. And all I've done, though, to give it a little bit more interest is I took the large background stamp. It's the Cherry Blossom background stamp that released this with this quarterly release. And I've given that card base just some additional lovely detailing. And so this is an example where I haven't really added any mats and layers to my card base. Really, I've just mostly used the elements that came from the die and some ephemera and additional shape dies as well. On this card, I have created a very similar background, this time with grays, and I've added some additional mats and layers. So this is actually a white card base, but I cut a dark gray matte layer to frame this lighter gray panel. So that's totally up to you as well. That's what I mean by putting your own creativity, putting your own personal stamp on things. Maybe you like the look of additional mats and layers. Maybe you like the look of something a little bit more flatter and cleaner. So lots of different options and ways that you can really adapt the sketches to make it your own. Now on the fourth sketch, I have this one which uses the square and the circle aperture cut out of it. So here's a couple of different examples for how you can craft with that aperture and actually using the aperture window that gets cut out as a feature of your card. Because one of the things is that I've designed this so that the stitch border detailing, it actually is on both the circle that cuts out of this and it's on the outside of that circle. So you have it on that edge too. So you have this really nice finish edge. You can use it just as you see it here, where the circle aperture that's been cut out of it, it's a component, it's an aspect of the card where I've kind of tucked some of the ephemera behind, but then as the cups stack up, they spill over and sort of break out of that frame. So lots of different ways that you can play with that concept and work with that aperture to highlight it as a feature of your card. But as well, if you wanted, you could just easily use this square as a matte layer and put another square right over top and cover that circle completely. And no one would ever know that it wasn't a full piece of cardstock or pattern paper. So lots of different ideas for that. So in my introduction class, I'll cover how to make these cards to follow along with the sketch. Now, if you're interested in seeing more ways to use this die, I'm sure just in seeing the die and seeing these cards, you can probably already have some ideas in your head for how you might use it. And I'm so eager and excited to see what you end up making. But I do have an advanced class to show you how you can use the die beyond these card sketches, and that way you can actually see these as building blocks and see how to use the die when you only want a couple of different elements. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's a card that is also A2 in size, just like all of the others, but instead of using the die to cut out the pattern paper, what I've done is cut out my solid color cardstock to create a little bit of a background, a little bit of a stage for the collaged elements that I chose with the from the ephemera pack that coordinates with this paper pad. And so you don't have to see this die as being just for 6x6 pattern papers. Die cut your solid color cardstocks as well. Next up, I have a 5x7 card that I show you how to make in the advanced class, and that is meant to show you that you're not restricted to A2 because these elements come in so many different sizes and scale. Some of them will work beautifully on a larger size card. So if you do like to make larger size cards like a 6x6, like a 5x7, these elements are, there's so many different ones. They're going to work beautifully on those larger cards too. And so here I've used that square with the circle aperture cut out of it. And I've collaged up again some beautiful ephemera. So between having the die, the gorgeous papers, and the coordinating ephemera, these cards can come together really quickly. And once you see how you can pick and choose different elements to die cut from this large die plate, you'll see just how versatile it is to have so many building blocks at hand and ready to use and mix and match however you'd like. Then finally, of course, when I see something that has an aperture, of course, the thing that I think to do is to make a shaker out of it. So I'm sure you all saw this coming. There is a fun shaker element for you, and another way that you can use this piece and have something fun that isn't necessarily a sketch card. You can make different fun folds, you can make interactive cards. So really, the choice is up to you what you do with these dies, because again, they're just building blocks and you can build anything you can dream up. And I'll also show you how to actually use these dies to create some different elements too. So here's a double fishtail banner, which isn't included on this die set, but I used the die to create that. So those 3 cards are from my advanced class. And so if you are interested in seeing how to make these three cards, then do add the both classes to your order if you do plan on picking up this die. But again, your options are you can get the die standalone by itself with just the introduction course, or with both the introduction and the advanced course. So I hope that you are as excited as I am about the release of the Easy Wonder Die number 1. As I mentioned, this is a little bit of wishful thinking in naming it number 1. I do hope I can bring you subsequent releases with new designs and new card sketches to go along with it. I want to kind of tell you a little bit about where I'm thinking in terms of other things that I can introduce with this die. That way you can let me know if these are things that you might be interested in. And if there is enough interest, then I'm happy to design the dies, and if these dies sell well, I think Jamie would be happy to allow me to introduce them. At least that's my hope. So a couple of the things that I was thinking about in terms of potential future Easy Wonder dies is I really love the idea of having the aperture cut out of another shape. And I've been playing with designs where I actually have a word that is cut out of a larger shape. So imagine this rectangle here having a word die that is cut from the middle of it. And in a similar fashion as to this element here, you can use the circle and you can use the square. And you can use the square both with that negative space or cover up that negative space so it looks solid. No one would ever know that there was a bit of the center missing. And so that gives you basically like 3 different ways of using that, right? You've got the circle you can use, you've got the square you can use with or without the aperture. Well, imagine having a word, not just another shape, but a word, so that you can use the word in the positive form that drops out when you die cut. You can use the shaped element with the negative space as a shaker, for example, or just as an element, because there are lots of dies that are designed exactly like that, where the design is actually in the negative space. And as well, you would still have the option of just using the shape as a shape for, say, a frame or a matte layer behind another element that covers up that word completely. And I think by adding words to the die, it just makes it even more versatile, because not only are you getting some really great basic shapes, but then you're going to get some sentiments too. So how fabulous would that be? So that's one idea that I'm playing with. Some other ideas might be to do some different border details. So here I've just got some straight stitching, but I could see myself doing a little bit of a wonky stitch detail. I could see doing maybe a piercing dot detailing all the way around. Maybe even being able to add some stitching designs and make some stitching dies too. So really the idea of having dies cut out these basic building blocks that then can be used to create some quick card sketches, it's so fabulous because it allows the opportunity to have your die cutting machine do so much work for you and be able to get all of these fabulous little professional details, but as well have a lot that is kind of, jam-packed into this single die plate that makes it really versatile to have in your stash for whether you're a beginner card maker or an advanced card maker. You're going to get so many different elements to craft with, and I could totally see doing a lot of really fun things to make it even more useful and versatile as a stash builder. So those are just a couple of the ideas that I have for potential, new products in this line of Easy Wonder dies. So I'm happy to design that. You'll have to let me know if that's something that you're interested in, and I hope that you share your makes as you craft with this die, so that Jamie and I can see where your creativity took you and what you were able to make and craft with it. And let me know in the comments what you think of it, what you think about me doing more of these. I would love your feedback. Please do be honest and let me know, and that way we can kind of gauge where this goes, if it goes anywhere. To be honest, this was a dream come true, and if I only get to do this one Easy Wonder die, I am so beyond happy. So big thank you to Jamie for making another sort of wish list, bucket list, crafty item crossed off of my list. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to introduce this first die. I hope I can do more, but really, just being able to bring this to you is a dream come true. So thank you so much to Jamie. Thank you to all of you who might be interested in picking up this die. I hope that, I hope you get it. I hope you craft with it, and I hope to see what you've made with it. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.